What's up, y'all? And welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today I am joined by the internet's own Shelby. What is up, Shelby?
Hi there. Nothing much. I am enjoying my holiday season so far.
Yes. Tis the season for holidays, and tis the season for anime, which is what we're going
Hmm.
to be discussing today. So, for those who might not know, when y'all are seeing this, this is part of Dad Needs to Talk 2022 Favorites Week, where each day this week, me along with a special guest will be going over our favorite things from this year. Everything from anime to manga to movies and TV shows and video games. So tune in and buckle up. We're about to have a fun time. And also, as I always say, if this is your first time here, then welcome. But if you're a returning listener and or watcher, then welcome back. So, Shelby, how
Hi there.
sorry. How did you feel like this year went in general for anime?
I think that this year went pretty well. It was a jam-packed year. Um, I know that we met online, so you've been monitoring how many anime that I've been watching. And
Yes.
for those of you who do not know me, let me briefly introduce myself. I
Yes.
am Shelby. Rob and I have met on Twitter, and as recently as this year, I've met not only Rob but a whole bunch of people who are in the anime community, and and so I've been able to be immersed in a lot of different content and a lot of different
Yes.
genres than I normally would have been.
Yeah.
So I do feel like I have some things to say. So I'm also a part of Slice of Anime Network. We focus on anime manga news that relates to us over here in the Americas. And on my own channels, I also talk about anime discussions and have discourse and such like that, give recommendations. So, super thankful to be here and really happy to talk about anime.
Yes, indeed, and I am so glad to have you here. And also like Shelby mentioned, uh, or anywho, sorry, I'm getting tongue tied. Me and Shelby also got
Okay.
to meet in person at DreamCon this past summer.
You
So
did.
yes, and so
And you didn't recognize me.
I know I was
Well, we
like,
won't talk about that. We won't talk about that.
I know
But
I
I was super happy to finally meet you in person. I recognized you immediately. You look just like your pictures.
yes, yes, it was it was an awesome meeting. We definitely immediately vibed and connected. I was like, yep, Shelby is a cool person, and we're gonna have a great time, and we definitely did. Um, and and as for myself this year, I agree this was definitely a jam packed year. Um, I'm trying to think. I don't know if going into this year, I don't think I had too many expectations as far as like, oh, there's a bunch of stuff. There were like a few things kind of here and there that were kind of on my radar. But when I'm kind of like looking at my list, I don't really know. I don't think anything that's on my top 10 is anything that I even really even knew about going into this year.
Mm.
Maybe a couple of things I maybe at least like knew were coming, but yeah, I feel like this year was full of a lot of great and welcome surprises for sure.
No, I agree. I agree. I think I have one. Well, let me look. I'm looking over at my list. I
Yeah,
have two things that I knew for sure were coming out prior to.
yeah.
One of which is my number one.
Ooh, ooh.
But I didn't expect it to be my number one. I
Yeah,
had casually heard of it. But I do think that this year was a jam packed year. I think that manga uh, creators and everyone who is involved in putting forth anime have seen the big impact that it has had on the world as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And so especially this year, they've just wanted to throw a whole bunch of content at us, and to a
Yes.
certain extent it was slightly overwhelming, but a pro of it would be that there is always something for you, no matter the genre or subgenre. So
Yes.
it really was, what do you like to see, and there's probably an anime out there for you.
Yes, exactly, exactly, and I feel like, and granted, maybe this is also just partly because we're a bit more active within the online communities and stuff
Mm-hmm.
with this stuff, but I feel like I was seeing a lot more people branching out and trying
For
more new
sure.
things um, than they might have before. Cause I was definitely tossing out them
For
recommendations,
sure.
and I definitely appreciate all the people, yourself included, that were doing threads of like, hey, here's what I'm watching for this season
Yeah.
or for this year. Um, because it kind of, I feel like doing threads like that, it's kind of great for both, for yourself to just kind of help you keep track of stuff, but for
For sure.
somebody that is like, okay, I know me and this person have a similar taste in anime. I see them talking about this one, and oh, they have a whole thread. What else is in this thread that I might be, interested in and stuff? So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I got the idea of making a thread later on in the year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I still had to go back and remember all of the anime that I'd watched from January on, but I think I officially put the thread together in April.
Mm-hmm.
I joined Twitter, or the anime community specifically on Twitter, around April and May. And so as soon as I found all of these people online that do the same thing, I, not only was welcomed by a whole bunch of people, but I also was able to get so many recommendations, be it manga or anime or anything under the sun, if it's just a TV show or
Yes.
anything like that.
Yes.
So I saw everyone doing threads, and I obviously, as you know, why I'm here. I love talking about anime and doing more deep dives into it. So I thought that was the most amazing thing, because prior to finding the anime community on Twitter, I hadn't used Twitter before.
Oh.
So I kind of created it on a whim to kind of be a burner account, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
and to just share different parts about myself or indulge in certain hobbies that I don't typically share on
Yeah.
my other social media platforms.
Yeah.
But then most of the things that I enjoy is centered around anime. So somewhere down the line, I found everyone. So I was super thankful and happy to see these other people creating these threads so that I can also grab some things and
Mm-hmm.
find recommendations. So to end my whole spiel, I do think that we saw a lot of people watching different genres than they typically would, and
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what happened for me,
Yeah.
and why some of these made my top 10.
Yes. Yes. And one last thing I want to recommend to listeners and watchers as well. If you're not already using the site, a site that has been very helpful for helping to for myself to keep stuff organized is annilist.co. Uh,
Good job, you used the good one.
yeah, yeah, that site. I'm trying to think. I probably learned about that site. I think. Oh, from Polo and Tail over on Mike Chick Waifu podcast. Because they
Oh,
yeah they talk about it literally almost every episode on their podcast,
I love
and
that app. It's a
yeah,
website and an app.
yeah, and cause I had always heard of the other kind of like anime
My
list or
Annie
whatever.
list,
Yes, yes,
or Annie
that.
list. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, and I had kind of used that before in years past, but it was kind of eh. And so I
Mm-hmm.
thought this was the same thing until they actually spelled it out. I was like, oh, let me go look that up. And then just the way everything is presented, those of y'all that watch my podcast or
Mm-hmm.
have been watching, y'all see me use it all the time. And so yeah, it is just very helpful just to kind of like help keep yourself organized with stuff that you've watched in the past, stuff you're looking forward to watching or reading, because they also have manga on there. Um, and they have live timers for all the shows. So, if you happen to be out on vacation or just whatever, you've had a busy week and you're like, wait, did I watch everything this week? And it's like, oh, I'm an episode or two behind on whatever show. So, but yeah, so I just wanted just to make sure I mentioned that, cause it is very helpful.
I love the app. I
Yes.
co-sign it. I tell everyone to transfer over to that app. If they have the other one, I say no. This is the better one. I absolutely love my Annie list is what it is called on the app version or annielist.co. So
Mm-hmm.
it keeps everything up to date. And on their discovery, they also have what is popular for the upcoming season, this season, all time. It is very good to keep all of your things sorted, and they give you updates on when the episodes are dropping and
Yeah.
when the next one will be. So love that app.
Yep. Yep. All right, Shelby. So, are you ready to dive into the gauntlet of
I'm very ready. I'm super excited.
yes? So, for our list, dear listeners, so we both have put together a top 10 of what we watched this year. Now, a caveat: some of the stuff on our list might be stuff that might have came out from previous years, but this is just stuff that we watched this year, regardless of when it might have released. So just because there's always going to be somebody's first time hearing about a show, whether it came out this year, last year, 5 years ago, or whatever. So the purpose of this, like I said, is just to kind of give y'all some, hopefully some dope recommendations for some things that y'all might not have either seen or maybe even heard of potentially. And once we get done with our top 10, we will also go through some that might have just barely missed our list, because I know I was struggling earlier today trying to like, okay, maybe if I do this, and I started to pull the this is my show move, so I'm gonna put two in one spot, but I was like, no, Robert, I'm gonna try to keep
No,
it
can't cheat.
civil. So, but yeah, so we're gonna have some fun, and we're gonna get ready to dive in. So starting off with our number tens, and Shelby, I'll let you do the honors of going first. What is your number 10 on your
Well,
list?
thank you. Okay, my number 10 on my list is Darling in the Franks.
Mmm.
So I don't know, have you watched it before or
Yeah.
read the
Yeah.
manga or even heard of it? Yes.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I am not a mech anime fan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll preface that with it's not that I don't necessarily like it. I don't gravitate to it as much,
Yeah.
and I haven't had the history or background to really dive deep into it. So it's not that I'm not willing to do it, because especially this year, I want to try as many different things as possible and see
Yeah.
what I like. But I just don't typically gravitate towards it. But with Darling and the Franks, it was a recommendation by a friend. Actually, I had lived in Asia a few years ago, and China specifically. And because China is pretty closed off to certain parts of the world, we had a anime community that we would talk about it with and discuss. And so Crunchyroll is actually banned in China, and so you
Mm.
have to find other ways to watch your anime, whether you download it, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So my friend who I had met in China, who's now back in the States, he follows my thread too. And he said, no, you have to watch Darling in the Franks. I just watched it. It's my top five of all time. I was like, whoa, top five. Nah, I got to see it.
Yeah.
so
Yes.
so it has made my top 10 of the year because I absolutely loved the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed the post-apocalyptic world uh, theme in not only this show but in some other shows also. I find that interesting,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that they took it to the next level in another way of what if humans did this, or
Yeah.
what if humans took it too far or took science and their progression too far,
Yeah.
because people often look at post-apocalyptic worlds as regressing
Mm-hmm.
and as like zombie lands or things like that. And so I thought that Darling in the Franxx did something a little bit different,
Yeah.
that I appreciated, and I was like, wow, no, I can see why this show is pulling people in. The second half of the season definitely was a lot more exciting than the first for me,
Mm-hmm.
but I enjoyed it that much, so it's my number 10 spot.
Awesome. Awesome. See, I already starting off with some surprises from for me. Uh,
I know, right? Who would have thought?
yes, yeah. I'm trying to think because I'm trying to remember because so I'm trying to get my timelines right because okay, 2018. Yeah, I definitely remember watching that because I'm trying to think. I feel like around that time frame, I was kind of just getting into watching a lot of Studio Triggers, different anime and stuff. Cause I think because this one and then there was another one that they did. I think it was a Kiz Niver. I can't remember if they came out the same
Okay.
year or around the same time frame. But anywho, but uh, but yeah. Shout out to Darling and the Franks. Yeah, that one was a solid one. So
Very
so
interested in hearing your number 10. Can't
so
wait.
for my number 10, I'm gonna try to. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to keep pulling this up. If I can get my stuff to cooperate with me. Uh, but my number 10 is one that came out early this year. Now, I'm not saying it was perfect
Oh,
by any means, um, but it is one that had a very special spot in my heart this year, and that is
uh-huh.
Sabekwi Bisco. So I don't know if you've heard of this one or you saw it.
I haven't heard of
Yeah. So this one came out. I'm trying to remember if was it January or yeah January. So yeah, it started off this year. Uh, it's the one where it's basically kind of like setting kind of like a desert wasteland type of setting, and you had this guy who shot arrows that grew mushrooms. Um,
it.
yeah, it was a very wild
Okay.
and fun anime. Now, myself included, I know a lot of people also kind of hated how like some plot point stuff went towards the end of the season, but I still enjoyed just the whole journey and ride just because it was just this wild crazy show that honestly kind of gave me some similar vibes to one of my all-time favorites, Trigun. Like I said, just because of the kind of
Okay.
like semi-steampunk desert wasteland world. The main character has a giant bounty on his head because a lot of people in the world assume he's going around doing bad things, but he's actually trying to save the planet. But it's just
Mm.
that the government and different factions have kind of painted him and his faction of people that he's with as bad guys when it's like actually no what they're doing is actually helping and saving the planet but but overall it was just a fun time like I said just tons of just unexpected surprises and stuff that happened throughout the anime including one very big one that happened like kind of like towards the end. Um,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, but that is why that one is on my list because I kind of went back and forth on even putting it on, but like I said, I just had just such a strong connection uh,
Mm.
with it when it aired. For like I said, for a lot of those reasons that I mentioned earlier, that I was like, you know what, I gotta slide it in there. So so
Yeah.
that's my number
No,
10.
no, I can totally understand that. I have a few that I wrestled with about putting on my top 10, especially as I got to the 9 and 10th slot. So I
Yeah.
understand.
Yes. It is a struggle sometimes. So,
hmm
uh, so on to the next one. So, what is your number 9?
Well, my number 9, kind of similar to what you said, might be, I guess, controversial
Yeah.
for some people, but I really enjoyed it and it had a special place for me too. And it also came out in the beginning of this year, I think in January too.
Mm-hmm.
So, or at least in the first season, I think winter 2022 season.
Yeah.
So, my number 9 is My Dress Up Darling.
Yeah.
Okay. I really enjoyed My Dress Up Darling for
Yes.
a myriad of reasons. I liked it because number one, it's cosplay. I think that that's cool.
Yes.
Number two, I really loved the connection between Maureen and oof, what's his name? It's failing
Gojo.
me. Do you remember?
Gojo.
Gojo, yes. Maureen and Gojo. Yes. See, I knew it was like a name from another anime.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, the Gojo I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
But okay, so
Yeah.
the connection and the chemistry between Maureen and Gojo, but in the sense of she's the first person who really says like what you like is cool. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter if it's the most trendy thing or the best thing. Like if you like it, that's so cool. Like so
Yes.
I resonate with that because I say that to a lot of my friends, and some people may also say to me that they appreciate that even if I'm not specifically interested in something, I'll
Hmm.
still say, oh, that's really cool. And so I appreciated her showing him that different perspective and saying that you don't have to be embarrassed about the things that you like.
Yeah.
um, the one thing I may say is we do know it is a little risque. Um,
Yeah.
and so people may feel away because they are technically in high school. However, I have two things to say about that. Number one, um, yes, maybe they could have aged them to college like they kind of did in
Yeah.
Rent a Girlfriend. But I'm also fine with that. It's not that there's a huge age gap. They are both in high school
Yeah.
exploring things. And not for nothing, I really appreciated her personality in being like comfortable with her sexuality as a
Yeah.
woman character,
Yeah.
and her being like, well, what if I wanted this to happen? Because typically, female anime characters are very shy, very, oh my God, they're always blushing. But Maureen is like, well, what if I wanted that to happen? So I
Yeah.
liked it. I really enjoyed it. So that's my number nine.
Yes, yes. Shout out to you for mentioning that because I was just going to say that was one that had just barely missed my list that I was struggling with, and so I was like, I took a chance.
It made mine.
I was like, maybe it made Shelby's. And I'm like, worst case scenario, I'll mention it in my honorable mentions. But yeah, I pretty much agree with you on everything you said about it. Yeah, it was just it was just such a fun watch because, like you said, first of all, the whole getting kind of like a at least like for me as somebody who has never really done any cosplay stuff whatever, getting a deeper understanding of some of the different things, people who make the
It was so cool.
costumes, people who are actually wearing
Hmm.
them, the different things people have to go through or maybe even have to consider from making it to wearing it to etc etc etc. um and yeah, it was just a super awesome show overall. So awesome pick. um
I agree.
Yes.
I was also wrestling with this one and another one that I put on my honorable mentions. So I
Yeah.
understand how you feel.
Yes. So for me, my next one is going to be Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting.
Yay!
This was one. I'm trying to think of. I'm trying to think if I had heard of it. I think I might have at least like heard of it before it aired, or maybe at least seen the manga or something whatever out
Hmm.
at the store. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna give it a shot. And I am so happy that I did
I guess
because
so. Yay!
it has such a nice mix of sweet and wholesomeness, but also some more serious, darker tone moments kind of sprinkled throughout. Uh, because just seeing the main character or the Kirishima, seeing Kirishima kind of go from this like hardened yakuza guy to kind of slowly softening up and kind of becoming a father figure to this young girl. It was just so sweet and wholesome to see. Just watching that whole show. Uh, and I'm trying to think, and honestly, the whole cast, because everybody else that's kind of involved with the Yakuza family and stuff, and just kind of seeing them seeing a change within Kirishima, the little girl, kind of her growing up and being more confident in herself, making friends, and overall, it was just such a just a sweet,
Oh,
sweet show.
I'm so glad you put it on your list because I have heard about this show before it became an anime, and I've been waiting for it to come out. And I haven't gotten around to watch it yet, but it
Yeah,
really is. It's on my list of like the next things that I'm going to get to.
yeah,
But I was super excited about that because it reminded me of another show that I recently finished. Um, that also made my my honorable mentions.
yeah.
Um, Kakushigoto, My Dad's Secret Ambition.
I don't know if I've heard of that
And
one. Hmm.
it's about a manga writer. He writes like etchy manga, and he doesn't
Yeah.
want his daughter to find out. It's a comedy, but it's like
Oh.
comedy slice of life. He doesn't want his
Yeah.
daughter to find out. He pretends to be like a salary man or office worker.
Yeah.
So he has like a suit and then drops her off and then changes into like his sweatpants to like go create manga with his team. But it gave me kind of similar vibe, and I was waiting for this one to come out. So I can't wait. I cannot wait to watch it.
Yes, yes, and I'm glad that you mentioned that other one because that was one I think I probably saw you mention it before,
Yeah,
but yeah, that was definitely one I was interested in checking out. So thank you for bringing that back to my attention. So I'm about to make sure I
please. I think you'd like
dive
it if
into
you
that
liked
one.
this. You definitely like that.
Cause and what did you say that one's name was again?
My Dad's Secret Ambition or Kakushigoto.
Okay, My Dad's Secret Ambition. Uh huh. Okay.
Mm,
Alrighty. I had to go ahead and add it to my list so
definitely, write it down. And
make
I
sure
will
I
let
don't
you know.
forget it.
I'll let you know when I get to the quizzes guide.
Say that again.
Oh, I said I'll let you know when I get to Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting because
Yes.
I really do want to. I might just binge it. I might just take tomorrow and binge it. I'm
Yes.
super. I've been waiting for it. So you just brought it back to my mind of why didn't I watch it yet?
Yes, definitely. Okay, so on to number 8. What is number 8 on your list?
Number 8. So it could have been something else. I put that other thing as an honorable mention. I can't wait to get to them because
Yeah.
I really love them. I do, but but for other reasons that I can't that I'll get to in a moment. My number 8 was the new season of Demon Slayer.
Nice, nice, nice.
Um, I have not read the manga. I
Ooh.
am not considering the other opinions of people trying to sway me into thinking that Demon Slayer isn't cool. I like it.
And
and
that's what
I
matters.
and for one thing, um I really enjoyed the visuals. It's the visuals that made it my number 8.
Yeah.
Um, most of my picks are the storyline, the character development, the this and the that, and this is simply it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm a person who before this year is the first time I really dive deep into all these different genres
Yeah.
and can speak on a whole bunch of things. But before that, I was an action adventure shonen girl.
Yeah.
Like I was like seeing people punch things, seeing people fly in the air. I love that. So to see it so well done and beautifully animated, um, and in just something that I'm used to, I was
Yeah.
like Demon Slayer, it did it for me. Especially the last fight. Come on. How can you not enjoy that fight?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
My
And
number 8.
that is an awesome pick and yeah, Demon Slayer continues to impress and deliver. I am honestly happy for people who have just stuck to just watching it only. Because as somebody, I have read it. I've read through the whole thing a couple of years ago, but it's kind of like I'm like experiencing it again for the first time just because of how high the
Mm-hmm.
production value and stuff is for the anime. And yeah, and like you said, like how can you not love and be impressed with the fights and just like the
I'm reminiscing. I'm
intensity?
like,
Yes,
you see him do those moves and you tell me that's not cool? Come on.
exactly, exactly,
That's what I
exactly.
feel.
And good to know that you're not going to be having to wait too long because it's coming back in a few months.
I'm so excited. I
Yes.
can't wait to continue. I want to see all the Hashira. I want to see their different skills and the different moves that they have and all of that. I'm super excited to see.
Yes, yes, indeed. All right, so for uh,
Number 8. Right.
my number eight is a new anime from the current fall season. It is one I had never heard of before the season started,
Okay.
but it stole my heart. The cast of characters stole my heart, and that is Bochi the Rock.
Okay. Very nice.
Yes,
Okay, good number 8.
yes, cause
Go ahead. I was very interested in hearing your opinion.
yeah. So for Bochi the Rock, on this one, it pretty much follows this this young girl who at the beginning of the show she's in middle school and she is kind of wanted to make more friends and to get popular and stuff, and so she ends up taking up guitar to as a way to kind of like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna learn guitar. My friend, people at class are gonna think at school think I'm gonna think I'm super cool or whatever, but she also has very bad anxiety. So
Mhm.
she becomes very good at guitar, but nobody else knows. But she ends up becoming super famous on YouTube. So she ends up becoming a
Oh
very
wow.
popular person on YouTube, but nobody knows what she looks like though. She's just like a
That's
YouTuber
so cool.
who just plays her music or whatever. And I think her YouTube name I think is like Guitaro Hero or Guitar Hero or something like that. And so, but anyway, so that's where it started. But now with her going into high school, she's like, okay, I'm gonna try again to make friends and stuff. And so basically, it is just a story of her meeting these other young girls in her school, um, and they end up forming a rock band. And it is just a super
So
yes, it is just a super sweet and wholesome show because, like I said, with the main character, her having her very bad anxiety, so she'll have moments to where, she'll have to like turn her back so people can't see her face, but she'll be like rocking out on the guitar or whatever and stuff like that. But just slowly over the course of the show, you kind of start to see her kind of come out of her shell, making friends and stuff, whatever. So, but yeah, Bochi the Rock is a super awesome gem that I super highly recommend. So,
that's so great. I love that you put it on the list. I recently heard about it after several episodes had already passed.
mm-hmm.
Who put it on my radar? Huey T. Shout out
Yep,
to the Huey T
yep,
podcast. He was raving about it on one of the Twitter spaces.
yep,
And so I put it on my list because one, I love Comey Can't Communicate. It is probably in my top 10 like anime of all time that
yep,
I really love. Um, for myriad of reasons, I won't go into it right now, but
yeah,
for people who also have social anxiety, um, it's a great show to watch.
mm-hmm.
And so um, I also have like a personal, connection with it. So I feel like Bochi the Rock would be something that I would absolutely enjoy. Um, I didn't watch it myself, but hearing you rave about it and Huey, then now I gotta watch it.
Yes, for sure. And the other cool thing about the show too, like I said, aside from like I said, like just like a very awesome cast of characters and very dope music throughout, they also do some very cool stuff with the visuals and animation because they are constantly switching up the kind of like the art style to kind of like represent how Bochi is feeling, with like when
Mhm.
she's like freaking
Mhm.
out or
That's
just
cool.
like overthinking or whatever. So they'll kind of like change up the kind of art style or whatever, and it is just a visual treat as well.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to watch that one now for
Yes,
sure.
yes. Alrighty. So up next, number 7. What you got for us, Shelby?
Well, number seven is actually an anime that came out this year.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was the summer season. And it was also my first ever sports anime.
Uh-huh.
And that is Ao Ashi.
Yes,
I
yes, yes, yes,
love Ao Ashi.
yes,
Love it in a way that is actually different than Blue Lock because I was very interested in seeing the differences in playing the game of soccer in Blue Lock and Aoashi. And for
mm-hmm.
people who do not know, Aoashi is a soccer anime.
Mm-hmm.
It is based around Ashiko, who is a forward, and he wants to be the best and go on to the J League and beyond. So you see his different struggles, and you watch him, learning different things, overcoming different hurdles, and such in the game of soccer. If anybody has seen Haikyuu, it has a similar vibe, and if you
Yes,
love Haikyuu, like many people do, then I believe you would love Aoashi. Not just because of like the feeling and the character development and the teamwork, but also it explains soccer in such a great way for people who don't understand the game.
yeah.
I am a former soccer player, and so
What?
um,
Nice.
as my first sports anime ever, I was like enthralled. I really, really loved um, seeing it. It was like I envisioned myself on the field back when I was in high school. I saw and from the perspective of different players and the explanations that they were saying, I was like, that's exactly what my coach was saying. Those are the things that they talk about. Maybe I could have been, if they would have did it like this, maybe then I could have been a star. I don't know. But
Yes.
um, I do enjoy watching the game of soccer. So I thought this was fitting for me. And in comparison to Blue Lock, for people who really like hardcore competition based anime, or if you like even tournament style kind of anime,
Mm-hmm.
then Blue Lock would be more for you. If you like Kuroko's Basket or something like that, maybe that would be for you. But for
Yeah.
me, I like growth. I like to see you start he and not that he doesn't go through growth in Blue Lock, but in a different way.
Yes.
Um, so I just really enjoyed seeing that in a more wholesome, not so aggressive
Yes.
way.
Yes.
I love that Ashi a lot. That's my number seven.
Very, very awesome pick. And I'll just say that that is on my list as well. Because
Oh,
for
I hope it's not number seven.
no, no, it's
Okay, okay.
it will appear later.
It's up there.
Uh, but I just wanted just to mention that because just for anybody that's been following my podcast for a while and knowing how much I've talked about it, it's like, Robert, why have you not
Oh,
said
yay.
nothing? But I will expand upon what Shelby said when I
I
get
can't
to
wait.
where it's at. But I will go ahead and say though, uh, you pretty much picked the perfect comparisons because I say the same things for the people that are between this and Blue Lock. I'm like, if you like Haikyuu style of sports anime, Aoashi. If you like Kuroko's no Basket style of sports anime, Blue Lock. So you the whole time I was thinking in my head and you said the words, I was like, see that's why me and Shelby are on the same
I'm glad I
wavelength.
beat you to it.
Yes, yes,
Because
yes,
if you're going to if you've said it before on your podcast, then at least I can tell all of your listeners he's not lying. You have to watch it. It's so good. It would have made it higher, but as far as sports anime is concerned, it makes my list not only because I love it, but because it showed me that I don't necessarily have to be super into sports to be able to enjoy this.
yeah,
um, and there are different things that I take away from sports anime that I like. And so after watching that, I started a whole bunch and
nice.
was trying to find what I like and didn't like and things like that. So if you haven't watched a sports anime before and you're curious, I think it would be a nice one to start.
Yes, yes, I agree with you. So, for my number seven, y'all know
Mm.
I I am one. I'm not afraid to admit that I love me some good isekais, but I
Me
know
too.
I know some people are like, oh my god, I'm tired of all these isekais, and I, to an extent, I
I
understand, but y'all know me. I am a man
Mhm.
of refined taste, so only the best of the isekais will make my list.
Spitting. Listen to this
And
man. Subscribe.
and for me, that is Parallel World Pharmacy.
Okay. All
Yes,
right. Good choice.
yes. So this is one like the kind of like the first thing that kind of like stood out to me is that it wasn't the typical person gets reincarnated, they're super overpowered, and they're going on some fantasy adventure. No, we start off with a guy who
It's
is
so different.
basically in the
Mhm.
medical field and he dies from overworking himself and gets reincarnated into a fantasy world. But what are the odds that he is reborn into a family of pharmacists?
Everything.
Yes,
It's so funny. Every isekai is reborn into something that had to do with what you did.
yes. And so that within itself was pretty cool, but I really enjoyed like the main character was super awesome because he legitimately cared about the people he was trying to help with his medicines and stuff because the world he gets reincarnated into is kind of in a older time period, so a lot of things just like modern day, a lot of stuff that somebody has a common cold, okay, go take some Tylenol and you're good to go. Well, hundreds of years ago, you get a cold, you done for. you know. And so
Mhm.
it was just kind of just interesting seeing him using his modern day medical knowledge to help uh, bring newer treatments to these people, as well as like different ways of thinking as well to these people. Because also I forgot a big thing with him too is that uh, with his ability, one of his abilities he has, he can pretty much create any element or whatever that he thinks of, as long as he knows like the as long as he knows like the basically the ingredients to make whatever thing. So it's like, okay, I know to cure this disease, it takes this medicine. Well, what are the ingredients of the medicine? It's not just, oh, I need Tylenol. It is, what is the ingredients
Mhm.
to make it? And so seeing that other element just made it just that much more awesome. And like I said, just seeing just his growth and him having a cool family, him having a cool supporting cast of characters around him as well, is why this is one that made it up to my number seven on the list. So yeah, so like I said, if you enjoy isekais, go check out Parallel World Pharmacy. It was a very fun watch.
Mhm. It's super interesting because I too am an isekai lover.
Yes.
and if I am going to, rank my genres, it's probably in my top three that I would prefer to watch.
Yeah.
Reason being, for people who really like, again, like I mentioned, action adventure, but more on the adventure aspect, on the world building. If you even like world building type of games where you're
Mm-hmm.
exploring or open format stuff, then like isekai might be something that you enjoy. I think people get deterred from the long titles and the oversaturation that's happened as recent as this year.
Yeah.
Um, Especially after that time I got reincarnated into a slime,
Yeah.
which was the shirt I was gonna wear, but I wore this one. but um I always say a good isekai is a great anime. Like a really great isekai is always like a great anime to me. but
Yeah.
I think that other people who may not gravitate towards it would still say the same with certain series that have gained a lot of popularity. I have Parallel World Pharmacy on my list, and I've had it since the season. And
Awesome.
because of a whole bunch of things, I haven't gotten around to watch it yet.
Yeah.
But because I love the genre, I it's still on there, and I'm really happy to hear how much you like it because it only makes me want to watch it like even faster.
Yes. Yes, for sure. And so one of the quick thing I just want to mention as well with the whole isekai thing is that I feel like it has also kind of led people to assuming that anytime they see something that is like fantasy, that it's an isekai.
Hmm.
Cause there was some show that's coming up for the winter 2023 season, and somebody had mentioned like, oh my god, another isekai, and I had to tell them, I was like, no, it is not an isekai.
It's not
This
an
is just
isekai.
a fantasy show. It's just a regular. It's just a person
Hmm.
in a fantasy world. So but it is
Yeah,
what it
and I
is.
love that.
But yeah, I just wanted to mention this that
Yeah,
like just because you see somebody in a fantastical setting, that does not mean that it's a isekai.
very very true.
All right, so on to number 6. What is your number 6, Shelby?
My number six is actually a film.
Ooh,
It is not yeah, it's not a series, but it is a film, and I'm a little late to watching it, but it is Your Name.
ooh, very nice.
It, I really enjoyed it. If you do not know, um, for those of you who, yeah, who do not know, it is about two people who switch bodies in their sleep. And so, a boy and a girl, and they're in two totally different locations, don't
Mm-hmm.
know why they're connected, how they're connected. And we do find because of the different themes that they had in it. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed the story, the love story behind it all.
Yeah.
The visuals were like spectacular, and that's why it's so high on my list. For people who really enjoy like Studio Ghibli, um, that's definitely right up your alley. I love the slow almost like b-roll of people break cracking an egg or making some food or just ironing some clothes or like the way that the chimes like move in the wind, like it's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think Japan is also one of the most beautiful places, so I love that. I love when they showcase the scenery and stuff in Japan and more of like those slower towns and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I really loved Your Name for like so many reasons. So it is it's my number six.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I definitely have great memories of watching that when they came. Actually, no, I didn't watch it when it came. I remember I got around to it myself a little bit after the fact, but it is definitely one of those ones that kind of gets recommended a lot for people like, okay, hey, I'm looking for an anime
Mhm.
movie and stuff to watch, and yeah, Your Name is definitely uh
It's always
one.
up there.
Yeah, yeah,
Such a nice.
yeah, exactly. And
Mhm.
what's that?
I'm looking back over. I'm sorry.
No, no, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Oh no, I was saying that I'm looking back over at my list. That's why I keep looking and turning my
Yeah,
head. But I'm looking back over at my list and I'm looking like, some of these in my honorable mentions I really like, and and I'm like, do I really want to keep some of them? But I'm keeping it. My list is my list, everyone. I'm not moving it. But I will say that some of these that I put in my honorable mention, I'm really struggling with keeping them there. So they're also very good shows.
yes, yes. Another feeling, like I said earlier, it's like I had that internal struggle of like, of yeah. So yeah, it was just such a packed year And
It was.
looking at how packed this year was, I'm already afraid of next year, but we'll probably talk about that
A
in a
little
bit.
later for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about. We might touch on that a little bit once we get through our the rest of our list. So my number six was one that felt like it was just a weekend adrenaline rush of a watch, and that is Cyberpunk Edge Runners. That
Hmm.
show now, I never played the video game or whatever, but of course I am, I'm familiar with the game and with the property. And so when it was announced that there will be a anime coming out loosely connected to it, and that it was going to be done by Studio Trigger, I was like, how could I not watch a Studio Trigger
Hmm.
anime? And so this show just, I feel like from the moment you press play, it is just a
Oh, that first
nonstop.
episode.
Yeah, yeah. That first episode kind of like immediately sets the tone of this is not going to be a family friendly anime. We blowing heads off. People are dying. No one is safe. There are drugs and nudity and everything in between. And it's going to look beautiful while we show y'all. Uh,
Yeah, no, you summarized it for sure.
yes, yes. So yeah, but yeah, Cyberpunk Edge Runners. I don't need to belabor the point on it because I did a whole episode with the homie Rome back when Rome from Worst Gen
Oh,
podcast.
Rome.
Yes, so
Shout out to Rome.
yes, so if you want to hear some even more in depth full series discussions, go check that out. But yeah, so shout out to Cyberpunk Edge Runners for being my number six. Now
Yeah.
we are moving into the halfway point with our top fives. So, Shelby, what is
Top
number
five.
five? Yes.
My number five comes in as Ranking of Kings.
Yes. Yes.
My man Boji. I love
Yes.
Boji. He has a special place in my heart.
Yes.
Um, Not only do you see all of the development, and I think that you guys can see a theme here. I'm one for characters going through big, impactful moments and
Yes.
starting somewhere that seems like super low at a super low point and having everybody's support shift along the way, kind of like Shield Hero. If you guys watched season one, at least
Mm-hmm.
of that.
Yeah.
But Ranking of Kings, I loved everything about it. I loved how people were against him. I loved seeing how people started cheering for him. I loved seeing sign language in an anime. That's so different. I've never
Yes.
seen that before. I don't know if there is something like that, but I loved it. And I love the fact that they also have fact checkers from the Japanese Sign Language Association,
Mm-hmm.
I believe, to check, make sure that it's actually factual. So
Yeah.
I really did enjoy that and all about Ranking of Kings. It has the action and adventure. It has the fight scenes that surprised me. I at
Yes.
first was a little deterred from the art style because it was a little different than something that I'm typically used to.
Yeah.
But I saw a clip from the one of the fight scenes, and I was like, "Whoa, this is not a." They're cutting limbs off. So I was like, okay. So it wasn't just a happy go lucky anime that I thought it would be, and I
Mm-hmm.
really did enjoy it. So that's why it made my top five.
Yes. Yes. And I am so happy that you mentioned this one because as much as I love it, it didn't make my list,
It did make the top 10, I know.
but I would say for me, Ranking of Kings would have been like a understood top of the list for me of like
I see.
of
That's
of
why I put it
of
there.
like a ranking of kings presents Dad Needs to Talk's 2022 list because pretty much all the points that you made, um because I know it was also one that a lot of people, even just from like that initial poster of him in his basically like his like underwear just sitting on the throne. People are like, what is this big baby sitting on a throne? I'm not gonna watch it. And like you said with the art style, but I am so happy that I gave it a shot because yeah, it is definitely moved into one of my all time favorite series and stuff as well. Because from beginning through, like you said, the whole journey all the way through to the end, it was just fantastic, and it continued to keep me on the edge of my seat. It continued to keep me guessing because I was like, what's coming, what's going on, maybe even like a little bit of like some Game of Thrones elements because it's like some like
Hmm.
politics and stuff involved as well, characters that you hated at first but ended up loving, and then characters that you loved at first that you end up hating, and everything in between. But yeah, Ranking of Kings is a fantastic series, and so shout out to this series, and once again, shout out to you for putting it on your
For
list.
putting it there. I got you.
So I
So
feel
that
like
you don't
I'm
have to.
so I feel like I'm kind of getting some free extensions of my list.
Hmm.
So shout out to Ranking of Kings. So number 5 for me. Now let me now this is one that is a slightly older series that I had heard talked about and seen. If I can spell it right, uh, that I had seen mentioned many times over the years, but never really knew too much about it or what it was about. But last year, when Squid Games came out, people kept on saying like, "Oh, Squid Games is just a lesser version of this
Hmm.
anime," and that anime is
Hmm.
Kaiji: The Ultimate Survivor.
Okay.
Now, like I mentioned, Kaiji, the anime for this, I think this is from shoot, I think like 2007, the first season, and then I think like season 2 is from like 2011. So well over a decade ago. But I finally decided to just give it a shot because I don't know. I just had a mood one day and I was like, you know what? I want to finally try out that show. So, Kaiji, the Ultimate Survivor, basically follows this main character who loves to gamble. And so, big thing with people who gamble a lot of times is that they end up in a enormous debt. And so he is in millions and millions and millions of dollars in debt. And so he basically gets offered an opportunity to play these various games, which they all involve some type of gambling, for a chance to get his debt cleared. And so this show, like I said, pretty much kind of like Squid Games, is just a series of just stressful moments of how are these characters going to get out of this? How is our main character going to overcome these odds? And will he be able to clear his debt? Uh, and so it was just a fantastic adrenaline
Hmm.
rush of a show the whole way through, and it was a lot of show because I think yeah, because season 1 by itself is 26 episodes, and I think season 2 is 26 as well. So I watched well over like 50
Okay.
episodes of this show over the course of like a week or two. That's how invested I was to where when I started watching,
I
um,
understand. I understand.
yeah, and of course it has the super dramatic narrator as well. That's just like narrating certain things throughout or whatever. That just adds more tension and suspense to what's going on. And just like a lot of other death game shows, people die. You lose limbs. There is serious stakes to these games. But yeah, so shout out to Kaji Ultimate Survivor for making it to my
That
number
is
five.
cool. Did you watch Tomodachi Game or read it?
Yep,
I'm
I
curious. I
watched it.
know this is kinda mean, but I'm curious at some point your opinion
Yeah,
because
so
I watched.
you watched what? Say that again.
I did watch Tomodachi Game this year.
Okay, yeah. So same for me. Tomodachi Game. It has some rough patches for me, but it I'll say it has
Hmm.
some really high highs. Uh, Particularly I'll just say the stuff when they were in the forest during the hide and seek stuff. That was one of my
Hmm.
highlights. Um, and then kind of towards the end of, I think that would be like the second game where they were kind of like moving like on like the tiles, I guess like
Hmm.
the lies and stuff, whatever. But I would say it was one I had to kind of come back to because I watched maybe like that first episode or two and was kind of like lukewarm on it. And then I heard people talking about some of the later episodes. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let me go back and watch it. And so I think me binge watching it was better than me watching it week to week at first.
Waiting. Mhm.
So, and the end of it was kind of so so as well. Um, but I would be interested if they do a season two. I would check it out. Or maybe even at some point, maybe even reading the manga, maybe because that was the other thing that kind of got me back was somebody was talking about the manga, and I had just blindly went and looked at whatever the most recent chapter was at that time, and I saw some insane stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, I did not know that y'all were on this type of craziness.
Time.
Yes.
Hmm.
So that was kind of another thing. So I was like, maybe I might read it at some point or whatever. So, but yeah, how did you feel about it?
Well, your entire response plus one. I feel the exact same way, down to the examples that you used when they were in the in the forest. That part, as well as when they were moving on the pieces, those were two of like the parts that I thought were most interesting.
Yeah.
But I agree about it starting out a little bit iffy. I also have my own personal opinions about like how they, I guess, went about telling the story. I feel like I don't want to give much away. I do think that people should check it out because I
Mm-hmm.
have also heard that the story gets crazier and that the manga is more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I would also be interested in season two and such, but I did feel like they could have did a little bit more convincing of us in the beginning on like their friendship and other things.
Yeah.
I wasn't totally sold that it was all a solid foundation anyway. So going through the game, it's not like something necessarily surprised me, etc. I think the most surprising points was actually like the aftermath and what exactly happened in some of the further games. The ending was also the same thing that I talk about in my thread. I didn't make actually I did make a not episode by episode, but a few tweets in a thread for Tomodachi Game.
Yeah.
And then when I put it on my completed anime list, I did touch on how the ending kind of took me by surprise in terms of the no song. No, I was like, no, just stopped like that. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All in all, I feel the same way about how you do, but I was curious your opinion based on the games aspect with the debt and such
Yeah.
from the other one that you
Yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah. And one show I'm gonna shout out just very quickly, just because we're in the
Hmm.
theme of the death game stuff or whatever, um, is the live action series Alice in Borderland.
I was because I thought you were talking about that before you said or some a similar one before
Yeah.
you said that one, and so
Yeah.
I thought you were going somewhere, and then you surprised me.
Yeah, so I just wanted just to shout that out because I had watched that first season and read the first couple volumes of the manga was that earlier this year, end of last year, something like that or whatever. And it's just back in my mind again because season two came out the weekend or the day that we're recording this. Season two is out, so I'm excited to go and watch that. So if you want
Mhm.
another really good death game type of show and you want an actually solid live action one, Alice in Borderland is
Alice
a
in Borderland.
good recommendation, and that's on Netflix, by the way. So,
Totally agree. Totally agree.
all right. So, number four. What is your number four?
All right. My number four is my other son. And I'm sure you can think about it. We have the trinity of anime kids. He's my other son, and he is Kotaro Lives Alone.
Yes, yes, yes.
Do I have to say anything? Okay, if I must. Kotaro came out earlier in this year, and I saw that before I saw Ranking of Kings.
Mm,
Um, not exactly sure if that impacts why I typically put Qatar Lives Alone before Ranking of Kings. I
yeah.
like them both, but what Qatar Lives Alone did for me personally and with my life experiences, it
Mm-hmm.
impacted me on a different level than Ranking of Kings did in terms of like it just being a great story and a great watch.
Yeah.
I have taught children. I am. Everybody knows I'm always around kids, so I've been a English as a foreign language teacher abroad and here. I'm just often the one taking care of kids, whether it's my cousins or things like that. I have also been around, children who don't come from the best circumstances and things like that. And I know people who have, unfortunately, a similar story. And
Mm,
so, for all of those reasons, when I watch Qatar Lives Alone, the life lessons that you learn from it, the different little gems, like the little phrases that he says to explain a certain situation are just so profound to me. And I cried like 3 times an episode. Like it was just so impactful in just 10 episodes. So
yeah.
it really was great to watch. And I really love shows who where like a child often influences the adults in something or his guardians or whoever have you in his around him. I think that also some of the other ones that made my I guess honorable mentions list are also some that may have a child that taught something to someone else, but I really do enjoy that because I not only have a connection with kids, but I do think that as we get older, we tend to lose some of our, innocence, and we tend to forget things or get stuck in our ways or go through life. And it's always like the young ones or the people who are, you know, seen as, oh, you don't know anything, you're just a kid, or those are the people who impact you the most and make you learn something about yourself. Because one thing about kids, they're honest. And they're just
Yes.
good.
Yes.
And I know Dad. Dad needs to talk. So, for sure, I love Kotaro Lives Alone, and that is my baby.
Yes. Yes. And once again, Shelby strikes again for sneaking and stuff to her list that I wanted
I
to put
had
into my
to.
list. So I agree with everything you said with that. And the other thing that kind of like was just like constantly in my mind watching the show is that Kotaro is four during when this is going
Four.
on. And at the time when this was airing, my son Vash, he since had a birthday, so he's five now, but he was also four when I was watching this. And so me seeing all the stuff Kotaro was going through and all the things he's having to do on his own, from cooking to going shopping and everything else in between, I'm like looking at him, then I'm looking over at my son, and I'm like, I cannot fathom, you being in this situation. And there were definitely, I'm right there with you, there were definitely some tear jerker moments um, throughout that got me. And I also enjoyed the supporting cast of characters of the other adults and stuff that was kind of
Mhm.
around. They was there to kind of like help support him and to kind of like build up this new family, uh, in this new location and stuff, whatever. So, but yeah, I agree. Yeah, Qatar Lives Alone is a fantastic gem of a show.
For sure. I also have a friend who's like one of my best friends, and he has a daughter who was 4 at the time.
Yeah,
So I told him to watch it. He's not an anime watcher. He's maybe just in the recent years, like this year, watched something that I've recommended, Kataro being the first one.
yeah,
And based on just his own life experiences and looking over at her, he cried too.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I was like, such a great show. It's a whole different thing. And watching, looking over at your child, how can you be going through the life alone like this?
yes, I know. All right, so my number four. This is I don't know if I'll call this an oldie but a goodie because it's technically
Okay.
new, and that is Bleach 1,000 Year
Oh,
Blood War. Now,
okay. I'm glad it made your list.
yes, so Bleach coming back. This has been a decade in the making. It is wild that it has been 10 years since the anime stopped. And heck, I think even 5 or 6 since the manga ended. So it's been a while since we've had no Bleach content, pretty much. And so with this series coming back, obviously there was a lot of hype, a lot of anticipation for it. But I did not expect me watching the show every Monday to make me feel like those same that same excitement and vibes that I felt when I was a teenager watching this show when it was originally airing. And that is why it is so high on my list, just because of the emotions, the nostalgia, and just how well they have executed on this show. Because when they put out that first kind of like teaser trailer, maybe like last year or whatever, and we saw the pretty visuals and stuff, and people was like, the show's not gonna look like that. They just did that for the trailer. But when we got the first episode, and now we're 11, 12 episodes in, and every episode it has been consistently that good. How
Hmm.
how could I not have it on my list, and like I said, and have it at such a high spot? Because I started to put it somewhere lower, but I was like, no,
No.
Bleach has been disrespected long enough. It is time that it gets its dues. So yeah, so Bleach, 1,000 Year Blood War is my number four. Have
I
have
can
you
feel
been
that.
watching it?
So I have not because I have not seen any Bleach.
Ah,
So
gotcha.
prior to it coming out, that was the 1,000 Year Blood War arc.
Hmm.
I tried to watch some Bleach so that I can eventually get to a point where I can watch it. Because
Yeah,
me, I like watching things from the beginning. I'm not just gonna jump into it. I want to get the experience, know the story.
exactly.
So I am on episode 4 of Bleach.
Hey,
So
at least you started.
I'm gonna get there one day. I'm gonna get there one day, but
Exactly.
it's not this year.
Exactly.
Um, so out of the big three, I'm a One Piece stan, and I've already
Yes.
done all the episodes. I've already seen them caught up, and so I think that that's honorable. And so
Yes.
I need a break from catching up to another, anime that has a lot of episodes. But I will get to Bleach because
Yes.
I've seen clips. I've tried to avoid them, but I've seen some, little bit of fight scenes here and there, and I'm like, I want to get to that. I
Yeah.
want to get to that.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
So yeah, one day.
One day. One day. It's all good. So, top three. We are
Woo.
nearing
Okay, ready.
we're nearing the top of the mountain. So, what is your number three, Shelby?
Number three, we talked about we love isekai.
Uh
So
oh.
we have an isekai coming in at number three, and that is the world's finest assassin is
Nice.
reincarnated as a isekai. I
Nice.
very, very much enjoyed this anime.
Yeah.
Um, I enjoyed actually it I saw it after another isekai that I won't mention because it's my number one.
Ooh. I'm excited.
But I saw it right after and they have some similar themes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So can't wait. Me too. But I saw it right after. I was already on a high from that, so I wanted to see another isekai that was like going to, leave me like super interested. And I think that this one definitely did a little different, where
Yeah.
he was reincarnated as a baby, and
Yeah.
not everyone gets that opportunity. So I like that, but also the fact that I don't know if I wanted to say it, but I will. I don't think it's cheating.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed that he got to meticulously pick out what skills he wanted
Oh,
in
yeah.
order to do his task. I thought that that was very different. I thought it's a different way that characters can be OP.
Yeah.
You get to see their thought process, and he is very meticulous in this as he is an assassin. Um, I really enjoyed. I think that oops that a lot of times light novels when they're adapted they're a little bit more mature,
Yeah.
and I really do enjoy that because it's there are more elements to it if you know what I mean. Like there
Yeah.
are more nuances. There are. It's not just cut and dry. It's not just wholesome. There's just different things going on, and so I thought that that was pretty cool in The World's Finest Assassin. So overall, y'all know that I love isekai, action adventure. It has all of that, great story, and you get to deep dive into his mindset. And I'm always enjoying that. I love psychology. I love, finding out how people work. So it ticked off all the boxes for me. That's why it's number
Nice.
three.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. That show definitely was a very dope one, and I'm right there with you. It was interesting at the beginning seeing him pick the different things because it was like cause he had dozens if not hundreds of options of like, hey,
Hundreds of
pick
options.
pick whatever you want. And yeah, just seeing like you see like his thought process of like, okay, I'm gonna go with this and this and this. So, but yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah, that was a very dope one. So, for num for my number three, and it is funny because I will also continue with the isekai train. Let me get it
Oh
pulled up.
no. What's your number three?
Recording. So, more isekais, and for me, that is Ascendance of a Bookworm. Whoops. This is a. Okay. Did you hear me?
No, you lag. So I can see when you do lag.
Okay. Okay.
And that's when like the audio cuts out. So I was thinking that you might pause again.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So I'm good.
You are good now.
Okay. All right. So Ascendance of a Bookworm. This is one
Okay. I forgot about
that
that one.
this is one that I heard about thanks to a friend, Jessamine, because she is also a very big Isekai fan. And so I saw her mention this one, and of course several others that I have since watched throughout this year. But the thing that I really loved about this one and that stuck with me is that so the main character, she is a librarian, but she ends up having an accident at work and ends up
Oh, yeah.
dying, crushed by books. And she gets reincarnated into this world, but she ends up taking over this little girl's body by the name of Mine, who has this basically this like magical illness to where it makes her body very frail and very weak, so she can't really do a lot of physical activities, whatever. She can't exert a lot of stamina or whatever because she just has a very just short stamina bar. Well, she still has this, of course, big love of books, but in this world, it is kind of more like a medieval setting, and only the wealthiest of people even have access to books. And so
Hmm.
she basically her constant goal throughout the series is just to either get her hands on some books, and if she can't, she is going to make books herself. And so, by any means, and so we see her go through different struggles and stuff, and meeting a fantastic cast of characters along the way as she is on this goal to make books. Um, and
Hmm.
sometimes some of the things that she goes through in her pursuit of this goal, sometimes there are repercussions or there are consequences to sometimes her actions that she might not think about because she is so focused on, hey, no, I just want to get my hands on this book, or I want to get the next material in my journey to make books. And the other thing too with this series that I love that we don't see too often in anime is that she also has a very supportive family. She has a mom, a dad, and a older sister who all love her and who are all so supportive of her goals and her dreams. And you see that from the beginning all the way through. There are
Hmm.
currently 3 seasons, and it is a
Hmm.
fantastic show. So, one I would definitely highly recommend to my fellow isekai fans.
That's Yeah. I've briefly heard about it, and I think even because I was watching like a compilation of on YouTube or something like that, and I
Hmm.
have come across the name, but seeing as it made so high on your list, there's got to be a reason, especially over other like isekai that you've mentioned. So
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Now I kind of want to go and see what's going on with it because you know me, loving isekai.
Yes, definitely, definitely. All right. So, what is your number two?
My number two is a popular one, one that everyone should know, even if you didn't watch it. Fruits Basket.
Ah, nice, nice.
Love Basket. So, this year, like I mentioned before, was the first year that I've really expanded my palette on anime
Hmm.
and observed what I'm actually watching. In the past, I guess typically stayed towards a certain genre. However, occasionally I would dip my toe into other things that happened to be something else.
Yeah.
But this year was the first year that I was really intentional about my pick.
Hmm.
But the reason why is because of Fruits Basket.
Yeah.
I don't know what made me do it, but I just kept hearing people talk about it. And since it's popular, it's been happening before. It was being rebooted, and the final season came out this year, and the
Hmm.
movie. And
Hmm.
so when the final season did come out, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go through this journey. And at the end, I was like, why have I never seen this before? and what else is out there, because if there is so many cool anime that's not just this, then I need to watch it.
Yes.
And that was what Fruits Basket did to me, and that's part of the reason why it is my number two. But for people who haven't seen it and who do kind of gravitate towards romance or
Hmm.
things like that, I love every episode has a profound um, takeaway that
Hmm.
you can even take away in your own life. Um, Toru, the main character, is my heart and soul. I love her. I
Hmm.
absolutely love her. She's the most wholesome I've ever seen in all of anime, I think, genuinely. And I think that she is able to evoke so much change in all of the other characters, character development, but she also goes through her own change. And you just see, similar to what you said about seeing a character who has so much support,
Hmm.
you see someone who's gone through so much hardship, but every single person in her life loves her to the moon and back and wants her to grow, wants her to have such like love. And
Yeah.
it's just so different seeing everybody just love on you and or love on a person.
Yeah.
And I love that aspect. Not only do you see that, you also get to get those gems and those life lessons that happen in every single episode. There's at least a lesson in every single episode. So all the way up until the third season. So that's why Fruits Basket is my number two.
That is very awesome. And so Fruits Basket is one that is on my list of stuff I need to watch that I know is
Sweet.
highly rated and highly
Sweet.
acclaimed. So I have it on my I have it high on my priority list of stuff I want to watch sooner than later. Just because of, like I said, all the praise and stuff that I've heard of it um, over the years and stuff. So that is very awesome to see that you dived into it and that it's also so high on your list. So
Yeah.
that is very dope.
Move it up.
I am. So
Okay.
my number two is one I alluded to earlier, and that is Aoashi. That is my number two for
Not mad at
all the
it.
reasons that you mentioned earlier, but expanding on that. So this is one I never even heard of until this year.
Hmm.
Cause like the other one you mentioned, Blue Lock, that's the one I feel like that's got like the more wider known name. And so I've
Hmm.
known about Blue Lock since like last year, or I knew Blue Lock was coming even a year plus ago. And so when we got to the beginning of this year, and I believe this was the spring season. Yeah. So when the season was starting, or whatever, and people was like, "Oh, okay, there's another soccer anime," and I was kind of like, "Well, okay, I know Blue Lock is
I know, right?
coming, but that's gonna be at the end of the year, so let me see what this is." And Ashito,
Blue.
he he is one of my sons. I would take him under my wing because he just has so much heart. Because just like what you mentioned with Haikyuu, it is just so awesome just seeing not only him but all his teammates and the various teams that they encounter and stuff along the journey. It is just so awesome. And once again, like I keep saying, I love a supportive family, and
Hmm.
his brother and his mom.
Oh, his mom.
I'll
Hmm.
I'll never
Hmm.
forget. I believe it was episode 4. I think I think it was episode 4, but it was basically the so that episode when he got his uh the acceptance letter to the team, and the scene when his friends are out there celebrating with him, and it's kind of this beautiful sunset, and his mother's there and the wind is
Mhm.
blowing and she's
I know
like,
what you're talking about.
it feels like soccer is taking you away from me. And that moment, along with when he was actually leaving and his, he got the gift and the mom was like, hey, do not open this until you are on the train. And him, Miles, minor, very minor spoilers, but I got to talk about this. But him getting the signature orange cleats and then the letter his mom wrote. I was right there
Mhm.
bawling right along with him because
No, yeah, it was just so. Oh,
yes, yeah, and this show just continued to
that
surprise me
whole
and
scene.
just
Wow.
it was so good seeing.
Higher on my head.
Yes, and it just continued to show his growth, both as an athlete, but also as a person. Because every time he kind of hit a wall, he figured it out and learned something new and made it to the next level. And all the way up to the freaking last episode of the season where he he gets the jersey and all that stuff. I can go on and on and on, but Aoashi
Oh,
is my
like,
number
yeah, I'm right
two.
there with you. That's such a good show.
Yes.
Even I don't want to spoil it, but you know how what they did in the last episode going into the ending scene and the ending song? How it continued, I was blown away. I was but till the last moment. That blew my mind. I was like, "What?" I personally haven't seen an anime like end it like that, where the ending scene like it flows seamlessly into the credits, and that's what we've been seeing the whole time. And I was like, "Whoa!" There's so many moments in Aoashi, and now I'm looking at my list and how much I loved it. It's probably gonna have to switch with somebody. But you really showed me. You said everything and highlighted it even then some. It's such a good show.
Yes.
Even when the mom, when he called, when he didn't want to call, and the girl called the family, and oh my goodness,
Yes.
such a good show. Watch it, guys.
Yes. And
I'm done.
last little thing I want to mention too is that I also love when a series kind of has a character that seems like he is like an enemy or antagonistic early on, but you know that later on he's going to be integral to this character's growth. I don't remember the character's name, but it's the guy that's on the higher level team that's kind of like a butthole to him.
Yeah.
And the scene where Ashito goes to him is like, "Hey, can you teach me?"
Mm,
Like
come on.
I
It's a
already
good
know,
show.
I already know
Blue
that
Lock isn't doing this, no. No.
it's not,
Blue
it's
Lock isn't
not,
doing this. It's not.
and
And it's good, but it's not this.
and
People don't give out enough credit.
exactly, and I already know that whatever comes later, I want to see their growth because, like I said, just that little thing of like, okay, he was mean to you at first, but he's gonna be so integral
Like,
to yeah, yeah. So, but anyway, on to
I agree.
our number ones. So, Shelby, what's climbed to the top of the mountain for you?
I kind of want to know yours first, but I know I'll
Okay, you know
tell
what?
you
Hey, hey,
mine.
okay. No, no, no. I'll
No,
do it.
are you gonna?
I'll go
Which
first.
you?
I'll go
Okay, go
first.
ahead.
Yeah, let
What's your
me.
number one?
So my number one. Let me get it pulled up. Uh, this is one that I was anticipating coming in because the premise and stuff sounded interesting, but I did not expect it to hook me from episode one and carry on through the final episode,
I
and
hope we're
that
on the same page.
is Summertime rendering.
Okay. All right. That's good. We're not on the same page, but that's good. That's a good choice.
Yes, summertime rendering. And before I give his praises or whatever, I have to air my grievances with Mr. Disney.
Ugh.
And
We won't talk about it. Well,
I
go ahead,
know,
talk about it.
I know, I won't even belabor the point, but I just gotta say one of the biggest travesties of the year that they still haven't put the show up for international release. And the crazy thing is that I've been seeing online that it is being dubbed in other countries and stuff. I saw like a dub in
Oh
like
no.
Australia or something, whatever. Or Poland or something. I'm like, what are y'all doing? But anywho, summertime rendering was a fantastic ride of twists and turns and mystery and suspense. Every freaking episode, you didn't know who was safe. You didn't know how we were going to make it through. But somehow, our boy Shinpei comes through with the mind, with the smarts. We love a
Mm-hmm.
smart MC. And one thing that I also enjoyed about this series is that they set up rules and they stick to the rules. And the characters operate within the parameters of the rules that they set up early on in the show.
Previously. Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so summertime rendering was just fantastic. And this also, if I remember correctly, I think this also did the thing that what you talked about with Aoashi, where they had the ending theme playing as the show
It like
was.
seamlessly moved into the end.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So shout out to summertime rendering. Hopefully, hopefully it gets wider release someday.
I hope it gets done soon. But I I actually am mid watch of Summertime Rendering, and that's the only reason it didn't like make my list
Yeah.
is because I didn't get to finish it. I know what episode I'm on. I'm on episode 10.
Mm,
And I literally said this morning, "Oh, I wish I would have finished this and another show so that I could talk about it." And I'm like, "But it's too it's too late now." But I was grabbed. My attention was grabbed quickly in Summertime Rendering. The
yeah.
only reason it took me a little while to watch is because I was watching with someone else initially.
Yeah.
And so I am definitely looking forward to finishing up that show. It is a show of twists and turns. I was shocked at some of the scenes that happened so early on.
Yeah.
I was shocked that it didn't work out like that fast. So I
Yeah.
definitely think that it's such a cool show. I'm watching it, we have to watch it on the other sites.
Yeah.
But that's typically how I watch my anime anyway, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
um, such a good number one. I approve.
Thank you. Now, what is now for you? What is your number one? What is this
Okay,
this mystery isekai?
I was wondering if you were gonna pick an isekai, so I'm glad that you didn't to an extent. So, drum roll, please.
Yeah.
My thank you. My number one is Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. Is
Ooh,
my favorite.
awesome.
Love, love Jobless and all of its little controversial moments included. I think that it is such a well done
Yeah.
show. Even with that, I think that there is something line in terms of it is etchy. It does have some things that you would think, do I
Yeah.
agree with that necessarily? But I think those things aside, the actual story is shocking. This was the first show that I got to hear a character's inner dialogue. This was
Ooh.
the first show that I've watched with someone being reincarnated as a baby and having their past self talking and thinking while also growing up. I loved his thought process. I love the way he went through things, his development as a person, The fight scenes were crazy. The different side characters and their growth. Eris is my girl.
Yeah.
I love her
Yes.
and her growth. The growth of the side characters, you can see it clearly, and they're not just like on the side. They still feel like they're a cohesive part of the story that you see go along with him the entire way.
Yeah.
And I can't wait until season 2 on January 1st. I'm
Yes.
so excited.
Yes.
And Jobless is my number one. If you guys have not watched it, please. It's a fantasy. It's like obviously it's a
Yeah.
fantasy, and he though he's going through his adventure, it is derailed completely. The
Yeah.
thing about this show that I like that you mentioned in Summertime Rendering is you couldn't predict what was going to happen. And in every single episode, I had no clue. I was completely caught off guard in all of the things that are happening. And so I can only imagine, especially after the shocking ending, last episode or last 2 episodes, how he progresses.
Yeah.
Um, I was actually in Barnes and Noble yesterday and I came across the manga. It is a light novel, but it does have a manga.
Yeah.
And I saw him grown up and I was like, no. But I kept looking at the covers. But I just can't wait to get there. I know he's doing so many amazing things.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is my number one jobless reincarnation.
Yeah. That. Yeah. That show. So one thing I want to talk about real quick with that show too. Uh, the other end of the spectrum from the outro music, the intro music. I love
I
how
love that.
every
I love
episode
that.
the music is playing, but it's not a set intro thing, whatever. It's like the same music plays, but we see actual story progression, and I love. Cause I was talking about this with somebody a while back about how they literally use every minute of this show to make
Mm-hmm.
progress
Every minute.
because even because I love how like a lot of times with the intro they kind of use that time for sometimes the more like mundane things. It could be, oh, we're just showing our characters traveling, or we're showing the scenery of, oh, this is the city that they're coming to, whatever. And that is such a beautiful way to do that because it's like, oh, two birds with one stone. It's like, okay, hey, you're getting the intro music, but we're also progressing the story, or at least giving some type of like nuggets of setup for what you're about to see. But yeah, Jobless Reincarnation is so dope, and I'm right there with you. I have seen many covers of stuff that is like way down the line, so I'm like, okay, stuff is going to happen, but it is just exciting to try to wonder how do we get from here to that. So yeah,
I agree with you. Um, can't skip the intro music in that one at all, and I love it. I absolutely love the difference.
yes,
So totally.
yes. So we have given you our top tens, which just to kind of recap one more time. But before we go into some honorable mentions and stuff, so I'll start just to recap what my top 10 was again. Starting at number 10, so it's number 10, Sabekwi Bisco. Number 9, Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting. Number 8, Bochi the Rock. Number 7, Parallel World Pharmacy. Number 6, Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Number 5, Kaiji Ultimate Survivor. Number 4, Bleach Thousand Year Blood War. Number 3, Ascendance of a Bookworm. Number 2, Aoashi. And number 1, Summertime Rendering. And Shelby, can you recap your list for us too, please?
I shall, no problem. So, my number 10, Darling in the Franxx. 9, My Dress Up Darling. 8, Demon Slayer. 7, Al Ashi. 6, Your Name. 5, Ranking of Kings. 4, Kotaro Lives Alone. 3, The World's Finest Assassin. 2, Fruits Basket, and one jobless reincarnation.
Awesome. I
I
feel
think we have
like
some solid picks.
yeah, and I feel like it's a nice variety of stuff too, because of course
Hmm.
we got our isekais. We had some
We did.
sports. You had some romance. We had some action, some slice of life. So
Slice of life.
nice, well
We have a
rounded
range.
list.
Mecha.
Yep, that's in there too. So before we wrap things up this episode, we're going to sound off and shout out um, some shows that maybe just barely missed making our list, for various reasons. And I'm gonna go first, just like I'm just gonna shout out a couple of them. Cause mentioning mechas, one that I struggled with putting on my list or not, but I decided to wait because we're midway through the season, and that is Gundam,
Mm,
the Witch from Mercury, because
yes.
I am loving that show right now. And like I said, I almost put it up there, but I was like, no, Robert, just hold it for now. But I freaking love that show. It is so dope. I'm scared for what's gonna happen in this next episode. um, Another one for me. That so earlier when I mentioned I thought about cheating and putting two at one spot. So one of them, one that I was going to put along with My Dress Up Darling that you mentioned was More Than a Married Couple.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that has been such a pleasant surprise of a slice of life romance show. And honestly, like parts of it kind of gives me somewhat similar vibes as My Dress Up Darling because you have these two seemingly polar opposite characters, but uh, Akari, the main girl and More Than a Married Couple, just like Marin and Dress Up Darling, she is unabashedly herself. She
Hmm.
dresses how she wants to. She basically does what she wants to do, and but she also has another side to her that she begins to show the uh the guy that she's in this quote unquote marriage with. Um, but yeah, so that was another one. Uh, of course, I got to shout out Made in Abyss season two.
That's in there. My my honorable mentions. I was looking like, Made in Abyss. Okay.
I know, cause it was a fantastic season, but I don't know. It was just something. It just couldn't make my top 10, but it was still a fantastic, heart wrenching, gut punching season. And
Yeah.
trying to think, I think I think probably the last one. I think, yeah, I think this might be the last one I wanted to mention. Uh, was Lycoris Recoil.
I was also in there. And I kept switching it out.
Cause that show was just another just like unexpected show of I had no clue what this show was. Cause it is also one of the few anime only shows or anime original shows this year that they actually did the reverse. After the anime came out, they've since been putting out a manga for it.
My
Uh,
bad.
yeah, and so but yeah, it was just it was just a dope show with cute girls blowing heads off.
Who are just gunning people down.
Yes.
It's like a
Uh,
slice of life with guns.
Pretty much. Oh, one more, and this is my last honorable mention. And I can't believe I almost forgot it because I watched the season finale a few hours ago, and that is DIY Do It Yourself. That show is
Really?
just
Okay. I've heard of that.
Yes,
Like just a name.
yes, it is pretty much just it is just a simple slice of life show about a group of girls in high school that form a DIY club where they are just building stuff. They're building, you know,
Mm.
little bookshelves. They're building tree houses and other just cool things. And it's just this random assortment of these girls who just happen to find each other through school, and slowly one by one they start joining this club and they just form a just a wholesome bond while they're making cool stuff. So
Yeah.
cute girls with power tools.
Hmm. But that's cool. I'm happy we had some overlapping ones too that
Yeah.
we couldn't quite figure out to put up there.
Yes. So, what are some that that just that you wanted to shout out as well?
Well, I guess I'll start with some of the ones that you touched on too.
Mm-hmm.
You said Made in Abyss. I actually didn't get to watch season 2 yet.
Mm,
I put it there because I watched season 1 this year, like maybe a week before season 2 was going to come out, and I had intentions of watching one of the movies and then going into it, but so still going to do it. But
mm-hmm.
I even so chose it to be in my honorable mentions because I feel like I really enjoyed the adventure and it does have all the elements that I like. It also has like the gut wrenching things and the difficult parts to watch. But I think that some other shows like did something a little bit more for me. So I
Yeah.
couldn't quite figure out putting that in my top 10. The same on the same token, well, similar token, Licorice Recoil. I was debating whether I wanted to switch Demon Slayer out or My Dress Up Darling out for Licorice Recoil.
Mm,
Reason being, um, yes, it's a slice of life with guns. It has cool action and it has wholesome stuff where, you know, people are learning and developing. But the thing that was the best for me was the conversation that they were having. I think was it Chisato and the guy with the green hair at the end, the
yeah.
final battle.
Yeah.
That entire conversation, the fact that they stopped midway, like to like, you know, rest or like reload, and like the conversation was about good and evil and who's actually good and who's evil,
Yeah.
and who's on the same side, and um basically like when people talk about, you know, like Attack on Titan and they talk about the final season and how it's basically like what side you're on determines how you view a certain situation, and that's how I felt like the conversation was going in the end of Licorice Recoil, and
Mm-hmm.
to me that was just so profound. um and I've just struggled so much putting it up there, but because that moment happened a little later on, even with all the growth, I was like, you know what, I'm putting it in honorable mentions.
Yeah.
But that was a great show.
Yeah.
And the cutscenes, those little cutscenes, they're so cool.
Yeah.
Um, way different than other shows. So, Made in
And
Abyss, Licorice Recoil,
and also, I love the fashion. Them girls was dressed.
that too. That too. They were.
Yes.
They were, and I love the traditional outfits they wore at the cafe. It was cute. I really
Yes.
liked it. Mhm. So yeah, those two. Spy Family. Spy
Yes.
Family took the world by storm, and I really did love it. It was super wholesome. It's actually I've known about it since the manga first came out, since volume 1, and
Mm-hmm.
I researched it as soon as it took the world by storm when it dropped, and I was upset that there was no manga, sorry, no anime, because I was an anime only at this time. I've
Yeah.
only dived into manga this year actually.
Nice.
So I waited all this time, and Spy Family was the first manga I ever purchased because I was like, I will read it. And I read like volume 1, and then all of a sudden, years later, it became an anime, and I was like, my time is here.
Yes.
But um, I love this story, and I love it. But it's so nice to just, you know, as a casual watch.
Yes.
So that's why I feel like other things put it up there. But the two things that I loved the most as someone who sings and does music, the intro song and the outro song. Everybody loves the outro song comedy, and it's great.
Yeah.
But for me, It's the intro song and the band. I love them. They're my favorite band ever.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was so well done. I just, so Spy Family, that's there. I have two more,
Yeah.
and they're both slice of lives. The slice of lives seem to not make it quite up on the list as much. But that is Kami-sama Kiss. Well, I guess more romance.
Yeah.
Um, it's an older anime. Um, it's a shojo. A lot of people already know about it. So when people heard that I was watching it, they thought that that was really cool. I enjoyed it because it's one of the first shows that I saw where the woman MC actually admits her feelings to herself way early on, and it's for
Mm.
him to then decide if he wants to like pursue. Because she tells him straight up, like, "I love you," and she's
Awesome.
like, "You gotta get it together." And so it's like, even though he's not the MC, it's kind of watching him come to terms with something because she already is like, this is what I want, and
Yeah.
I don't mind if it takes you a while to get there. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Because I don't I'm fine with, women and MCs being a little bit more shyer or things like that, but I really think that there is a space for a woman to be the main character and not just a side character, and be true to herself, confident, in control. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, some of the things that why people really like the new Gundam, which from Mercury,
Yeah.
which shout out to Ked from Chaotic Culture Podcast.
Yes.
He was, he's the Gundam King, and he's the one who's told me to watch it. So it's on my list
Yes.
as one of the next things I'm going to watch. So all of that to say, I really love more. We need more women MCs.
Mm, mm, mm.
So Kami-sama Kiss just missed it. And the last one, very last one, and then I'll be quiet, is Barakamon. It
I've
doesn't
heard
have
of that one.
an
Yeah.
English, but it's basically it's another slice of life. The MC, he is a what do you call it? He is an artist, but he writes characters, Japanese traditional characters.
Calligraphy.
Calligraphy. There we go. He's a calligraphy artist. And he wants to be like the best in the world. His father was like really famous, and he is working on his things. People typically tell him that he is too by the book, and it looks very standard, and they're looking for something to have a lot of creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So he ends up going to like a town, and like an offshore like sea like town that
Yeah.
by the countryside, and the other characters basically help give him inspiration for his art. It's super wholesome. This is another one where the little girl impacts the main character, and some of the things that they talk about and some of like the gems are just really great. So much so that I debate putting it in my like top 10 of like all time.
Yeah.
But for this year, it doesn't hit the top 10 of the year, I'll say, in terms of all the other anime. But it's definitely something I would tell people to watch.
Awesome. Awesome. And I have one more thing I want to shout out real quick just because. So, uh, there was an anime that I super loved last year, but the final like 2 or 3 episodes got delayed like several months. And that is 8686.
Okay. That's
So,
also on my next watch list.
yes. So, this is also another mecha, but it is just the story, the characters, the lore of what's going on in this world are some of the best I have seen in recent years, and the ending to that season was fantastic because this also had the outro music playing over the final scenes, and it was one to where I was shedding tears as well because it was just like the stuff that was happening in those final moments. It was just such a build up from the very beginning all the way to this big moment happening, and then it was just like, wow. So I had to make sure I mentioned that one in there or whatever. So, but as we've talked about, there's been so many freaking anime this year. There's a
So
bunch
many.
that I have like in progress I still haven't finished all of JoJo's Stone Ocean yet. So I'm like chipping away at that and lots of other anime and stuff. So, but but yeah, like we said at the beginning, this has been such a fantastic year for anime. Um, that yeah, I feel like you could have found something,
Mhm.
something to watch somewhere. And so, with that being said, I want to do one final thing before we wrap up. Um, Looking towards next year, 2023, is there, I know it might be hard to pick,
Oof.
but what is maybe one show that is on your radar of like, yo, that is one that I'm waiting for?
Hmm. Just one.
Yeah.
Just one. Uh, okay. Well, you know what? I already said it. So since I already said it, I'll sneak in two. So, jobless reincarnation. I told you, January 1st, I'm ready. I am
Yes.
ready. That is the one. But if I were to pick something else, I'm also excited. I think Dr. Stone's coming out.
Yep. April.
Dr. Stone and Slime.
I
I
think.
know the movie comes to the States
Yeah.
next year and it's already came out, but
I
if
think
I'm not
another
mistaken,
season.
there might be another season coming.
I think so, cause actually, yeah, I'm pretty sure because I think that they had announced two and three together, and so I'm pretty sure that yeah that yeah that's coming. But yeah yeah,
Mhm.
Doctor Stone's a good pick because that
Slime, Slime for me is
yes
up there.
yes
And Dr. Stone is cool too. I wanted to mention that before when you were talking about parallel world pharmacy, and when you were talking about like the different materials and stuff like that,
yes
watching, Dr. Stone and watching him have to like come up with everything and how things are created, and even the little cutscenes of saying like, "Hey guys, this is actually how you make a bomb. Don't try this at home."
yeah
Like things like that is like, whoa. It makes science like, it puts science in a different perspective, and I think it makes people find something interesting in something they didn't previously think they'd be interested in.
yeah
So those are what I'm excited for.
yes. All right, so
And what about you?
I will also mention two. Uh, One is one that I am struggling to not read the manga for. It's very tempting, but that is a Hell's Paradise
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I
I decided not to read it.
yeah I think I'm gonna try to stick to that because I've heard nothing but great things and I know it's complete. But I think I want to try to be a anime only person for this, at least to start. We'll see where I'm at a few episodes in.
Mhm.
Uh, but that, and then of course, how could I not mention
I knew I knew it. Yeah, you of course you're
Trigon,
excited.
Trigon Stampede? Because, for one, it's Trigon. Y'all know I have my freaking son is named after the main character, Vash. But I am just excited about the potential because I'm a little saddened, though I understand, but I'm still a little saddened of how many people are immediately saying that they're not going to watch it and that they're writing it off because of it's going to have CG and stuff. But I say, come on, people, have an open mind and at least watch the first episode. Hey, if you watch the first episode and you're like, no, that's fine, but don't just immediately be like, I don't want it. Because if this actually does fully tell the full story of the manga like they said it's supposed to, then this is going to be a wild ride. So yeah, so Dragon Stampede and Hell's Paradise are my two. Now, with that being said, I think that is going to do it for our favorite animes of 2022 discussion. Uh, Shelby, thank you so much for joining me. Uh, can you tell the people,
Thank you for having me.
of course, tell the people where they can find you, and if you have any special projects or anything in particular you want to highlight or shout out or whatever, feel free.
Oh, for sure. Thank you. So you can all find me on Twitter. That's one of the main places where you can go to see my anime discussions and not only just see what I'm watching while I'm watching, but to get other recommendations and things like that. I'm also into gaming, so I do talk a little bit of that on my Twitter page, and I will be starting my Twitch account actually coming soon in the new
Nice,
year. So you'll
nice.
be able to see me live, whether it be playing games or sometimes watch parties and discussions. And we're going to be doing a lot of fun things from cooking to vision boarding. I have so many things in store. So we're definitely going to be doing a lot. So you can find me at Simply Janine. I think you see my name right down there, right?
Yep, yep.
So you can search at Simply Janine on Twitter, as well as my TikTok and Twitch. On TikTok, I put information and content about anime and manga, different reactions to things, different suggestions. So if you are interested in learning all of that under the sun, you can follow me at Simply Janine on all of those pages.
Awesome. And of course, as I always do, I will have links to all that stuff in the description box as well, both on the YouTube video and on the podcast streaming services. So definitely make sure y'all go check out Shelby and go support her and all the awesome stuff that she is doing and will be doing. Now, as for myself, y'all already know it's your boy Rob, aka Dad Needs to Talk. You can find me everywhere at Dad Needs to Talk. Um, Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel and following the podcast on all services wherever you get your podcasts. I am there. If you don't find me, let me know so I can get there. Uh, but yeah, I'm at Danny to Talk on all platforms and stuff. And yeah, like I said, this is parts of my favorites of the year series. So if you enjoy this, make sure to go check out the other episodes that came out this week, and also go check out some just past content I've done, from manga reviews to anime discussions to discussions on family and all that stuff. And with that being said, thank y'all so much for watching and or listening, and we will catch you on the next one. As I always say, treat yourself to something nice, read some manga, watch some anime, play some video games, and live your best life. And we'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
Bye, y'all.